Woke up this morning to a crisp, chilly day. I love it when it's like dry and frosty outside, you know, it's crisp. There's a bite to the air. It's lovely and cold, and you just like put your little mittens on and you go for a little walk. It was great. I loved it. I love this weather. I'm here for it. We are otherwise doing a couple of experiments today. We are primarily doing a heating experiment. So an experiment where we are testing the cost difference between running the heating in the morning and in the evening versus running it all day. Because for the past couple of videos I've mentioned this, but I've just never got around to doing it. I feel like it must be about the same price, you know? Or any difference is marginal in comparison to the comfort benefits of not being cold, you know? The other experiment is I've just launched my first ever advertising campaigns. So I've launched 2 advertising campaigns, one on LinkedIn and one on Google. And I'm kind of like stepping back from emailing clients and reaching out to people directly so that I can just see what these things do, you know? So I want to see kind of like how these things kind of drive traffic, what those users do when they get to the site, that kind of stuff. And I don't want to muddy the water by reaching out to clients who may potentially navigate to the site themselves. Yeah, I got some like free credits from LinkedIn. And I've got like a deal from Google where they'll basically like pay as much as I pay. I'm not 100% convinced it's going to be the best way to do it, but I feel like I was going to do this with code reviews as a service, but the problem was code reviews was so niche that there wasn't really a way of doing that without me hand selecting who it would go to, and then there's no point, you know? So it's actually just not even possible. Whereas Catalyst is a lot more broad, and it can affect, and it can be like valuable to basically any company in the local area that's doing software. So I feel much more confident running ads on it. Whoops, I did. Although I don't necessarily want to do this forever, you know. I'm a bit cautious about throwing money at this when I could throw time at it. We'll see. Maybe it's worth it. It probably, like, if I get one person out of the amount of money I've committed to this, that's freaking worth it. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I've turned up all of the like analytics from Application Insights and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just going to watch. I'm just going to sit and watch and wait, you know. And otherwise, I'm going to focus on, I have a very important week this week. Obviously it's Tuesday because we had yesterday off because Laura had the day off. A very interesting week as I'm focusing on updating my security service, my security microservice, and creating my first .NET Core 3 API within the microservice I'm currently writing. And it's going to be fun, you know? I've been putting off updating the security service for a long time because I knew that there was going to be a time when I knew there's things wrong with it. And there's a big updates coming, and I was like, right, we'll wait for the big updates to come, and then we'll do it. But yeah, I'm not particularly looking forward to it. It's not going to be a barrel of laughs, let's put it that way, but it's going to be important, and we're going to sort it out. It's going to be great. Well, what I've discovered, ladies and gentlemen, is that updating this service is way less fun than I thought it would be, and I didn't really think it'd be all that fun, so. Identity Server's gone through some semi-significant changes. I've not even got it running yet. I need to add in the database persistence for. I'm having issues setting up the persistence for my microservices for Identity Server itself. That's the bit that's catching me out, and also getting it running in general was quite difficult. What I did was I set up the. What's it called? I set up my latest microservice to get up and running with .NET Core so that I could easily migrate the Identity Server to .NET Core, and then I'll start the basic MVC that's running on it, and then I can add Identity Server on top of it, which worked out. It was a bit fiddlier than I expected it to be, so it's a good job I didn't tackle it all in one hit. But yeah, I need to go for a walk. I need to like clear my head out. It's way later than I normally go for a walk. I'm like 15 minutes behind myself because I got a bit excited, you know. Let me tell you what I'm thinking about here. So I am currently trying to rip out this identity server endpoint that I've got. It's pretty important, this thing. So I've managed to get it running. I've got all the tests running as well. But I'm having issues with some of the storage for like the clients and the resources. The like interfaces has changed, and the NuGet package I was using that does that for me isn't updated and hasn't been updated for a while now. So I feel like I'm going to probably pull that in. I've already done that with a couple of things anyway, and this is relatively simple. So I'm thinking about doing that. But what I'm thinking about doing is kind of ripping out this like just the identity. This service on its own is like the kind of the biggest, and it's kind of one of the first I obviously wrote because it's the security service. And the security service is using Vue, Vue.js, and I have no intention of using that. What I like about my microservices is I can kind of pick up and play with different things at different points, and I can kind of rip apart certain things and do what I want in those areas, if you know what I mean. So I have Razor pages in one place, I have Vue in the other. The original web front end is Angular, but I'm looking at like how much. The problem is that this identity server instance wasn't like, it worked, but it wasn't really right, and I have to change so much of it to make it work now it's being updated. I'm trying to figure out whether or not I should just do it to kind of take this opportunity to rip it out and do it again. Like I can keep a lot of the code, you know what I mean? I can keep significant amounts of code and kind of go in it from a different approach, rather than keeping the code and kind of modifying it, kind of build it again and pull in the stuff I don't want to modify. If that makes any kind of sense at all. That's where my mind's at this precise moment in time. I'm trying to talk myself out of it. But my head's kind of there now. It's kind of like, I think you should do that, you know? But it's going to take me it's going to take me some time, you know? And arguably, it's not going to help me much. This whole thing is kind of like, because I'm trying to keep on top of. So I don't really like Vue. The other part of me that wants to do this is I'm not really a fan of Vue. It's definitely not going to be suitable for my front end of the full site. I like Angular-ish, but it's a world of things that I don't really like. I do like it, but it's opening me up to things I'm not really all that certain about. I'm not that sure about. And I like the idea of this Blazor stuff that's going on in the ASP.NET world. And I'm feeling the opportunity to kind of ready the identity server as a small test bed. Ready the identity server so that it can be used as an example of how to migrate to Blazor. Because I kind of decided a while ago that there's no real point me building the website of this up front now, because it takes long. It takes a semi-decent amount of time, and the first couple of people that I sell this to, I'll be holding their hand like quite closely. I'll be like, I will configure this for you. So I don't really need the website. So I've kind of been building the API up and just focusing on that, and that's allowing me to kind of save time, I guess. But it's getting to the point where I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I'm fighting that part of you that happens when you start working on a project for a long time. You're like, maybe this is quicker if we just rip it apart and start again. But the identity server hasn't been changed, legitimately hasn't been changed in like 2 years. And it shows in like how old some of the stuff is. Like how it's configured and all that kind of stuff. And if I write it again from scratch, then I can wrap automation tests around it. Vaguely, but I can. So that's where my mind's at, and I'm trying to figure out whether or not that's worth it. In a week where I'm spending time, and I say in a week, 3 days, where I'm spending it on the weekend. 3 days on the weekend where I'm spending time not selling, not like kind of leaving everything else away, and I've got like a week to do programming because I'm running these AdSense experiments. Do I take that as an opportunity to run at it? Because I don't think it will take that long. I could probably do it in a day, you know? And I'll take the opportunity to rip through it, just ripple through the whole thing and kind of tidy it up, which I did a little bit in the previous microservice as well. Tidy it up where it needs tidying up. And then replace it wholesale with something newer that's better and better configured. Now I know everything I know now. That's what this is. This is failing. This is falling from, I'll be honest here. The problem with this service itself is it's one I wrote the longest time ago. So I had the least knowledge that I have now. And I have way more experience than I was however many years ago it was, 2 or 3 years ago. And this was vaguely this was based on something that I didn't really understand at the time. So there's things in it that I'm not really sure why it's there, you know? But because of that, I got a couple of things for free. Which I could just take again for free, I guess. I'm gonna do it. I've talked myself into it. This didn't work. I tried to sort myself out of it, but I'm gonna freaking well do it. Laura's on her way home though, so what I'm gonna do, this is gonna become my focus for the next thing. I need to prep it so that I've got the old one to copy from and the new one, and then I'm just gonna ripple through it and make it work, you know? It's gonna be great. I'm also gonna take the opportunity to strip out Vue and get it ready for Blazor, because Blazor's in beta at the moment. I don't want to run beta code into it. Not all of Blazor is in beta, but I'll use the stuff that's there, but I think the front end stuff isn't. It'll be a good learning experience. This is my job, you know, it's not fun. Fuck it. Yeah, let's do it, boys, come on. Come on, who's the boss here? Jamie, that's the boss. Jamie? Yeah, let's do it. Fucking yeah, boy. All right, it's dinner time, boys and girls. I'm definitely going to do that. And I just looked through everything that this microservice does, and like, it doesn't need Vue for what it's doing. It's just literally 2 forms, and it's just a bit unnecessary. It's just a bit of a mess for how little it does. It's a bit of a mess. So I'm going to tidy it up, but I've got to cook my dinner first. So I'm having fajitas tonight. While Laura was watching Bake Off, I have started forging ahead on the work that I was supposed to be doing on the microservice, my newest microservice. I'm going to devote tomorrow to updating my identity server, but I want to make sure that I'm like doing this on my laptop. So I'm like trying to make sure that I have this at least ready at a point where it should all come together at the end of the sprint. Like I say, hopefully I can just slam dunk this thing tomorrow in one hit. That's my target. I'm just going to try and smash it out the park in one day. We'll see how that goes. And then because I'm like kind of in the evenings, spending about an hour or 2 chipping through on the laptop, we're getting there. We're having fun. This is all exciting. I'm enjoying it. This is going to be a tight deadline. I've kind of thought that for most of my sprints, to be honest with you. One of them was just way off because I was doing something else that I didn't plan for. And then the other 2 I kind of finished early. This one is going to be to the wire, so I need to make the most of every second. We're doing it, boys. We've gone all in. I made a copy of the entire repository and I just deleted everything. And I've just started pulling it all back in. So I'm creating it. The advantage of this is like when you're trying to update the glue that holds together a project, there's no real way of doing it piecemeal. There's no real way of like kind of doing it bit by bit. But if you kind of start again, even though I'm just copying the file, literally I'm just copying the files over, making some minor tweaks here, there and everywhere, I can copy the files in the order that I write them in the first place. And that way I'm able to just pull in each of the tests in individually, make sure everything works in its entirety and all that kind of stuff, right? But yeah, the problem is when you're trying to update it and you're not really sure how some of the things all glue together, and you're not really sure what the changes are in this thing, but you don't have the option to put them in one by one. You've just got to put them all in and fucking pray. It's so much easier to just kind of go piecemeal. The problem is, it's taking a lot longer. Like, it takes a semi-decent amount of time. And at the end of the day, like, there is still a semi-significant change that needs to be made as well to support all of the newer stuff. So it's not a copy and paste, and you've got to kind of spot where it isn't supposed to be a copy and paste. But I'm having fun. I've been just flying at it, I'm just running at it wholeheartedly. We're gonna get it done today, by hook or by crook. So yeah, living the dream, boys. Living the dream. I feel like this is like my second week now of staying in. I'm thinking next week I might have to book some people in for like lunch or whatever. At the very least, or go to a co-working thing. But this week it works for me not having to, like, being able to sit at home on Atlas. But I can kind of feel myself going a little bit crazy. As I realise, like, Laura comes home and I want to talk to her about stuff, you know? I just want to talk to someone. But I've got nothing to talk about because I've not done anything, you know? Like, I've just been at home all the time, you know what I'm saying? It's not fun. It's not fun at all. This is the downside of working from home on your own. I say working from home, God. Every now and again it dawns on me, you know, what I'm doing. It's really weird. You kind of forget sometimes. Whew. It's going well so far, ladies and gentlemen. I've had my lunch. I have now migrated everything and updated everything except the identity server project, which means a lot because that's like the whole domain, the whole consumer configuration, all of the other like public stuff. I've now just got to do the identity server. This is where I know there's going to be things that need changing, but this is where like the biggest advantage is because I can pull things in piecemeal. I've got the domain all runs and works for the consumer, so all I need to do is make sure it works for the identity server now. Oh, god damn, man, it is. It's one of them things, man. It takes it out of you, this. As much as it is just copying files around, you have to concentrate so freaking much. And it's so good as well. I've just like chopped out a huge chunk of the configuration for startup, for the consumer, because it doesn't need it, but it was all being configured there. And I don't know why it was there ever. It looks like I've just kind of copied and pasted it from the identity server part. And I'm like, I don't think you need any of this. Let's just strip it out. I just cross our fingers and we'll figure out what happens in a bit, eh? But yeah, I feel myself, I'm starting to go a bit crazy. Starting to go a little bit crazy, but otherwise. So I know one of the bits I need to pull forward is my, so there's one part that I know I don't have, and that is the resources, the resource store and the user store? No, it's not the user store, another one. The resource store and something else. Client store, it might be. I was using a NuGet package for that. I'm gonna have to take that over myself now. I've taken over everything else. I've taken over the two more complicated things before, the roles and the users. So we'll get there. It's gonna be fine, guys. I'm living the dream over it. But yeah, so I know that bit needs doing, and I know a lot of the configuration stuff for identity server has changed. Or I want to make sure that I'm definitely doing it right anyway. So I'm going to hit a point where I'm going to stop using, I'm going to get to the point where I'm going to stop using my application as the test bed, as like the thing to copy from, and I'm going to start using the tutorials for the new stuff. That's when it starts getting hard. So, oh, god damn. Right, I'm thinking, fancy a cup of tea, but it's a bit early for a cup of tea. It's an hour earlier than normal. I'm feeling tea time. Let's have a cup of tea and let's just get in there, boy. This is going to be a day and a halfer, I think. A day and a halfer at least. We've got, I'm currently trying to rip out the view portion of my forms, which is basically just doing validation. It's literally only doing validation, actually, which is why I feel like I can strip it out. I'm going to strip it out and I'm going to try and use Blazor instead and Razor components. But I just need to figure out how to do that. That's what I'm working on at the moment. It's quite good fun. It's been a while since I've kept an eye on Blazor, but I've like it's been a while since I've had time to look at it properly. one of the weird things, it's kind of odd. You would expect that since I could literally make any decision I want around like what kind of technologies to use and what kind of stuff to use, because there's only me, like there's kind of not really, I don't really have that much time to look at other stuff, if that makes sense. So if I'm not actively using it for my project, I don't really get a chance to look at it anymore. The difference is I can pick what I want to use for my project. So that's like the advantage, whereas normally you would be able to kind of not be tied down to a project, like an existing project, and then you do different stuff at work. And therefore like kind of come across lots of different stuff. But I kind of don't have that two different things. I have this one thing, and it often doesn't make sense to spend a lot of time learning something new when I can spin it up and run in with something I've already got. Thankfully, it doesn't really come up that much. Like every now and again I find something that I'm like, oh, that's good, and I'll use it, you know? But it doesn't really come up that much that I'm like trying to force. I never force a solution that doesn't work. I'm always like quite flexible to change. So I've got, like I say, yesterday I've got like some Vue stuff, I've got some Razor pages, I've got some blah, blah, blah. This is just the first time in a while that I've picked up something completely new, like Blazor. And I'm like, well, let's just smash it in. I've got like an existing form, so let's just kind of see how it goes. And I'm just trying to figure out how to add in Fluent Validator to it. But yeah, I'm having fun. But it's time for a walk. Man, I'm starting to go a little bit code blind, so I definitely need to walk to kind of like reset my brain a bit. Time to draw this video to an end, boys and girls. I'm having problems getting my Razor components to work. I'm trying to put a form in a Razor component and then run validation on it using Fluent Validator without any JavaScript. So I'm trying to get rid of the Vue and the JavaScript on the files. I think the weird complication is I'm not sure whether or not I'm doing something that needs Blazor, because this is only a Razor component. So that's where I'm at. I'm not really sure where the line is between Blazor and Razor components, because one of them is supported in .NET Core 3 and the other is supported in .NET Core 3.1, or is currently roadmapped to be. But that's where I'm at. I had to take a break to play some Formula 1 because I'm like so code blind by all of this shit. So yeah, it's good fun, but I'm gonna go to bed. Solve this problem tomorrow. I'll catch you later. Boys, got a little bit excited this morning, so I missed out on my morning walk and talking to you this morning in general. To be fair, it was raining this morning, but I've got something really fucking cool to show you. This little bad boy works now. So what I've done is I've kind of decided last night when I was looking, I went to bed and I was on my phone searching through documentation about Razor components and Blazor, trying to figure out what it is that I want to do and why it is that it's not working. This morning I went balls to the wall and I've replaced my Identity Server instance again. This time, instead of standard MVC, I replaced it with a Blazor server. So instead of running just standard MVC, it's Razor Pages and Blazor. And check this out. This only half works, so don't get too excited. This has legitimately taken me nearly all day though. So, so this is my registration form. I now have enough information to hide this conditionally. That's half the thing that took me so long. But now, if I was to change something in here, validation runs live. Oh, frickin' yeah, boys. So it is live running the validation through C# Fluent Validators. So on changes to the model, a C# validator is running against that model and then updating the DOM live. So it does that with 0 JavaScript. That's not necessarily true. There's a tiny little bit of JavaScript. What is that JavaScript? Can I actually look at that JavaScript? How big is this? Okay, it's not that. But I didn't write it. I didn't write that JavaScript at all. That's not there. That is literally, all it does is effectively open up a WebSocket. That's what that piece of JavaScript does. And then everything you see on that page is pre-rendered on the server and then sent to the client. Any updates happen over this direct WebSocket instead of running locally on the device. So the device basically does nothing but goes, tell me what to display, and the server's just like boop, boop, boop. Now normally, the server will go, here's some HTML, here's some JavaScript, here's some CSS, render the HTML, run the JavaScript. No, 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 no. This is all running server-side, pre-rendered, pre-compiled, so it is literally running it. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Now the advantage of this is, the clients only need to be, it's irrelevant because all you do, this server, literally you only log in with it and that's it. But you build up a SPA. So this is a full SPA framework that's all written in C# with no JavaScript. And you bind it to the server on the back end, and the front end doesn't have to download any JavaScript, doesn't have to have X, Y, or Z downloaded. It's all running on the server, or you could do it on the client, in which case it would use WebAssembly and then run it as native C# code anyway. Oh, it is dope AF. It's the dream. It's a bit fiddly. Like I'm trying to get my head wrapped around it. There's some weird caveats. It's not like the easiest thing in the world to write, but it feels a lot easier than writing JavaScript does. Now, having done this, I'm now trying to figure out whether or not it's worthwhile. Well, it's not worthwhile yet, but my Angular front end or my actual SPA front end, I could swap that out for something like this. And then I solve a load of problems that I've been having, particularly around the concept of authentication, running a JavaScript client, running C# clients. Very exciting, boys. Anyway, it's like 1:15 and I haven't had lunch yet. And I normally have lunch at 12. And I normally go for a walk. So I've literally just been working from like 7:30ish. So, but man, that's exciting. So now all I need to do is come back. I need to conditionally hide and show that weird bubble thing so that it only shows when you've got validation error. And I'm going to attempt to make it so that the validation messages only show when you want to submit. So it doesn't just instantly light up. What I like about it is, I like it to update live when it's kind of told to. So like once you've tried to submit it, run the validation at that point, and then from that point on, keep it live. That's how I like to run my validation on sites. I don't like sites that either only update when you click the submit button, or only update when you change focus on an input field, or just change live all the time, you know? So the dream here is for me to just be able to change whatever I want, like around here. See, and then the validation runs at the end as soon as I've tabbed it. Pretend that validation didn't appear, and I could just type whatever I want, nothing happens until you hit the submit button, and then once you've hit the submit button, the validation runs, I'll just say breakpoint, and then from that point on, it changes live. That's the dream. That's what I'm going to aim for. And I think I can do it. Getting it to the point where it would update on tab out was really easy. But getting it to the point where I had access to the validation information, like the validation results themselves, so that I could conditionally show the red bubble, and making it update live took me a long ass time. Mainly because something didn't work. So I've read the things online where it's like create a custom component, because by default the input fields only do it by, you can't change what event triggers the validation. It's always on focus change, whatever that's called. So all the things are like create a new component and just put this in it. It's just like a basic input tag with a couple of ats in it for the Razor stuff. So I put that in without making a new component. And without a new component, it doesn't work. But with a new component, it does. So I don't know what's going on there, but there's things like that, it's just like weird caveats. And I entered a world where there was a brief period of time where changes to my child class, which is the validator, changes to that would reinitialize or re-render my form, and then every time it was re-rendering, it was wiping all the input fields. And that wasn't ideal. So it's been a roller coaster ride, but we're there. And I deserve lunch. But yeah, look, we're having a DOS out day today. It's wet outside. I'm wearing my pajamas. There's nothing you can do about it. This wasn't even the entire intention of me updating this identity server, but it's cool. That's all that matters. I also have it working now, look, where you can do whatever you want, basically, up until the point where you are clicking submit. And then as soon as you've clicked submit, you've activated the validation, and now validation is live. Only works for this top one. Also, you'll notice that the bubble isn't there. Oh yeah, boys. All I need to do now is add validation to everything else, and tidy up the add validation to everything else. Tidy up the validation messages so you only get one at a time. And we're Gucci. We're living the dream here, boys. This is great. I have lost my recapture thing. And I think that's because the thing I'm using is a Vue component, and you can't initialize Vue components from Razor components. But we'll get around to that in a bit, won't we? I'm happy, ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy. I've got forms getting loaded for login and register, and I can navigate between them all. Happy days. I just need to make them submit now, which is slightly different to the way I had it before, because obviously before I had controllers. Now I've got Razor components, and I'm not used to Razor components. I've done Razor pages before, but Razor components are a new thing for me. I could just inject stuff straight into them, but I'd prefer to have some kind of tests around it, so I just need to balance doing it the way they kind of expect you to do it versus doing it with tests. So I'm going to try and wrap some tests around it, but I need to take 30 minutes away for my quote-unquote walk. But it's raining. Is it raining? It might not actually be raining. It's not raining. Should I go for a walk? Got pajamas on. Where's my phone? Let's check the weather. Maybe we'll go for a walk. I feel better for walking. Or I could just sit and play Xbox. That's what I'm balancing it against. 45% chance of rain. Right now, showers, but it's going to be raining in 45 minutes for defo. It's not worth it, is it, dog? FML, it's Thursday today, man. Thursday? I thought it was Wednesday. God, even me, I don't even go into an office all day, right? Laura goes to work, I just stay here. Even me, I lose track of days when Laura has a day off. It really throws me. Right, let's play a little bit of Formula 1 or something, and then we'll get back onto work, I think. I was riding pretty high yesterday, ladies and gentlemen. I was like, oh, this is choice. I was having a great day, and it's kind of come a bit crashing down since then. So I've hit some snags. These Razor components are all like, great, this Blazor stuff, it's all fine, but it's a spar, and spars don't navigate the way that you would navigate normally in a normal application, which causes me problems because I'm trying to build a secure page. This is it needs to do page redirects, it needs to do cross-site scripting validation. I can't just have an API that you can call. It needs to be, it's a very specific thing that I'm creating here, and it just isn't suitable for it. So my options are lift security and then hope that I can get the redirects working, or, which is what I'm currently trying to do, is go back to an MVC style Razor pages. So I'm going back to Razor pages, and I'm going to try and use the Razor components that build up that Blazor page inside a native Razor page. Now, you'll notice everything's called the same kind of thing. It makes it a bitch to Google. The problem that I'm currently having is that I have the form that it's using to do all of this stuff is in the Razor component. So I don't have much control over it from the outside, which isn't the end of the world, but it means that I can't get data out. So I can't get the form out of it because it doesn't do a form submit. It's doing effectively Ajax calls, but not Ajax. So I'm really trying my goddamn best to try and figure out why it is that I can't get this bloody thing working. But what I want in an ideal world is to have a Razor page. I need to make my Razor component work without having the form inside it. So it's a form, quote unquote, but it doesn't have the form tag or the submit button. Could I do it without the submit button? I might have to have the submit button. The problem is that because I'm going from Razer page into a Razer component, they both have different features. Like, but I want to use the top boy, this boy, to do the submit, but I want to this control the data. Something that Vue was very good at. Vue was very good at sitting on top of an existing piece of HTML and run validation on it, which is why I chose it for this, and I didn't choose something like Angular. So yeah, that was why I initially chose it. But I've tasted the sweet life now, you know, I've tasted how good it is. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and change the Razer component to take the form element out of it. I'm then going to keep the button in it for now. Because in theory, the problem is the form button is doing... I might have to take the form button out as well. But then how do I trigger the validation? So yeah, this is where I'm at this morning. I've been thinking about this basically all night as well. Yesterday we had a takeaway via Uber Eats. That's not working very well, is it? But then Laura was having a bit of an off day. So she took the evening off doing work. So we played like Xbox games and stuff and watched TV and just chilled to try and get her like back into it for tonight. Which meant that yesterday I wasn't doing more tinkering, I was just thinking about it. So I didn't really switch off because I'm like on edge basically. Yeah, I'm having fun. It may not look like I'm having fun, but I'm like cutting edge stuff here. So I'm learning a lot. It's just exhausting, you know? And all of this because I couldn't get the new builds working with Vue very well. Jesus Christ. Right, it's not going to work, so I'm going to revert back again to go in full Blazor and getting rid of my controllers. So what I was trying to do was kind of do a hybrid. I was trying to avoid putting a lot of logic in my Blazor files because they're not testable yet in this version of .NET Core. So I wanted to kind of get them to post back somewhere else where it could be, like post back to a standard controller. The problem there is that you end up with issues with anti-forgery tokens and all that shit. That basically becomes impossible to do. For the context I need to do it in, I also couldn't do reCAPTCHA. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert those controllers into mediator commands. I'm then going to fire the mediator command directly from the Blazor. It'll then spit back either a success, in which case it redirects, which may be a complication for the login. What I'm doing is I'm doing the registration bit first, but I need to make sure it'll work for login, because if there's no point me fucking around with the easy one for it to fail on the login for a basic reason, you know. I am looking at a bit in this where it would need to trigger mediator twice, but that's not necessarily a problem. Okay. Why is life so hard? Basically, all of these failure cases just lead back to displaying an error message to the user. There isn't anything crazy weird. Doing the redirect thing might be a bit difficult, but it won't be that difficult. Return URL, where's that coming from? Credentials.return URL. That's the view model, so it'll already be on the view model. Okay. Alright, mate. I'm gonna have some lunch, I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna do it. It's just a lot more involved than I thought it would be. So basically everything I've done since about 9 o'clock this morning we need to back off on. Well, basically everything I've done today, back off on. It's not gonna work. The only way I could get it working is... So I had an idea around... wrong button. Where's my button? These forms pass in, they initialize these forms, what's called an edit context, and that's the context that's like updates. It triggers events when fields change, when you submit it, and all that kind of stuff. So you would then, in a real world case, you would override or attach events to valid submits, and then you would post the JSON to an API. I can't do that. So, without opening up security holes. So, instead, what I'm doing, words. No, so I had an idea of, maybe I could inject that context in and then override the events outside. But at that point, it becomes static, and then it won't modify. So I lose everything at that point. God damn it. Piss me off. Yeah, so that wouldn't work. And my idea of wrapping this thing within a form didn't work either, because I tried to change it. I overrode the entire component so that I could try it with a div instead of a form, but then you lose the events. So it's lose-lose, really. It's fucking lose. And now I'm done. I'm done with that shit. I'm done trying to hack it, so I'm going to hack it a different way. But hacking it a different way is a little bit more work. The other way was hacking it, but I was effectively like always 1 or 2 lines away from it working. At which point I'd be happy. This way I'm hacking it, and I know it'll work when I hack it, but oh come on, just leave me alone. I just want to put the Chromecast on. Yeah, the other way, I didn't know whether or not it will work, and I've now decided it won't work. But when it would work, I was only like 1 or 2 lines away from making it work. That's what I'm trying to say. This way, I'm hacking it. I know it will work, but there's a lot more work to do it. It's a bigger hack. But that's life. Anyway, I have pizza for lunch, so I have pizza for lunch because Laura, when we ordered a takeaway last night, Laura ordered pizza. I ordered a kebab, which wasn't very nice. But every now and again I get kebab because Laura would never have a kebab, you know. We were trying out that Uber Eats thing, but now I get to try this pizza. There's no way in hell I'm using this garlic and herb sauce, fam. Oh, it's vile. And what is the only way to reheat a pizza? It's on a frying pan, boys. Get a bit stressed out now because every time I try to initialize this, I'm just trying to call into the domain, and it's throwing an exception because it says method not found, but the method's found. The fucking interpreter can find it. Roslyn can find it, but the compiled one can't. And it's driving me up the goddamn wall because I don't know whether or not this is a difference in identity or whether it's a difference in identity constructor. It can't find the fucking constructor. And I'm like, it's there. I can see it. You're telling me it's there. Why can't you find it? I need to step back. It might be, I thought it was because logging wasn't configured at the time that this was being initialized, slash being configured slightly differently anyway. But I mean, if it's because logging isn't being configured, then this proves my point about why you shouldn't use loggers as a fucking dependency in the constructor. I created a way of, Microsoft shifted gears and made loggers something you passed into the constructor, and I'm like, it's stupid. No one needs that. Is a logger a dependency? No. Then why is it required to construct it? Thank you. So I made my own, which kind of hijacks as you add it into dependency injection, it adds it to something that you can pull it in statically as well. So you have the choice of doing both. But they've now changed away from that thing, from an iLogger factory to an iLogger builder now. Fucking, just for the banter. So I need to update that. Oh. But I don't want to update that just to get this up and running, you know? Oh god, this is such a big job. I've been doing this for 3 straight days now. Fucking hell, it's driving me up the goddamn walls. Look at this now, like, right? Some dingus has gone, fuck me. Oh, I'm in linear and not in the wide. Well, how long that's been for. And added a logger to this constructor here, right? Data protection, blah, blah, blah. So, I directly reference this. In the NuGet package over here, I'm inheriting from it. There she is. And then I have this here, right? I don't have the option now to go like that and add in the logger. It doesn't exist. There is no logger. If I put something there, if I just put null, it would tell me it's a compiler error. But when I run it, it wants the fucking logger. Oh no, but never mind, guys, because if the logger's null, look. Oh no, actually, yeah, it will throw an exception if it doesn't have the logger. Mate, why do you need a logger? You fucking don't. This right here is what's wrong with the world, right? There is no reason why you require me to have a logger. There is zero reason, and yet you put it as part of your only constructor, which means I have no choice. One, I don't have the option, which is even worse. If I had the option, I wouldn't mind as much, but I don't have the option at all to do this. And also, I shouldn't have to. Why? Why have you done that? What have you done that for? Add debug logging. So you've added a debug logger that you require at runtime. It's not a fucking dependency. And boys. We're basically there now. I'm just chipping my way through the authentication stuff, which is basically copy and paste the old one and then change where I was returning like view models and stuff and turn that into responses from commands that are raised by mediator. So I basically just turned a controller into a mediator request handler. And then it's just a lot of renaming stuff. And then my Razor components basically just wait for it to be successful. If it's successful, it redirects it because you've successfully logged in, congratulations. And if it's not, then it will just tell you it's not able to log you in, fam. And that's all it ever did previously. And that's all good. So the interesting part is how the redirect is going to work, and how to modify the user. Oh no, because you have a user state. Meh. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Everything I was doing in the controller, I can do in a mediator command handler, and then just glue it together in the Blazor component. Fingers crossed. But we've got dinner. It's not the kind of dinner which makes sense for me to cook completely ready for when Laura comes back, because it only takes like 15 minutes to cook. But it's one of them meals that is like 15 minutes. It's a quick cook, but it's stressful because it's just like you have to do everything at once. And I'm going to cheat and not do everything at once by just like getting ahead of the game, cutting up my potatoes, and yeah, cheating. I like being prepared. That's me. All right. So I got far enough into making login work to find out that it would never work. Due to the like connection that I'm doing it over, it's not like designed for it effectively. It's trying to make the way that it works is effectively signs you make a request to it and it signs that request in. The problem is if you don't make that request to it because you're already connected to the server and the server is making that request on your behalf, it doesn't work out. The request's effectively already finished because the request was what gave you the page in the first place, and now you're using that page to now continue to come back. So it's not going to happen for me. It does mean that I'm going to have to completely back out of Blazor for login, and I'll just go to a Razor. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make the login page a standard Razor page, and I'm going to simplify the register page so that it's a Razor page and a Razor component, but use the Blazor way of actually registering, so that I can use all of the fancy validation for the register page, and all of that kind of jazz. But then everything else is basically just a standard Razor page. There's no point running fancy validation on the login page because all it does is make sure that you've got your fields are required and that you've put a value in it. So there's no point there. Could be done with just basic HTML. No point fancying that up. So yeah, what a pain in the ass. What a pain in the ass. We've learned something. I'm just going to back away from being Blazor-y. God, I've flip-flopped on this so many times. It started out as Razor pages with JavaScript on them. And I backed out of that because... No, it wasn't. It was an MVC with JavaScript on them. I couldn't get the JavaScript building properly on the build server. I was like, oh, fuck it, let's do Blazor. Did Razor components, didn't work. Did Blazor, didn't work. Went back to Razor components, didn't work. Went back to Blazor, started to work. Then tried to do login. That was all register. Got register working. Went to do login. Back to Razor component. Razor pages. No Razor at all. Components at all. I'm sick of saying the word Razor. I'm done today. I'm done. Again, like, I've not even added identity server yet. That's the kicker. All I'm doing is signing you in. Identity server's not even involved at this point. Fuck me, man. 3 straight days. 3 straight days of like 8 hours of pop as well. Every single day. 4 straight days. Not sure why I didn't just end the video earlier. I'll catch you later. I know you guys are probably as sick of this identity server stuff as I am, but I am now only the identity server away from getting it sorted. Yesterday I left it off in a certain place where I'm like, I'm going to have to make a load of changes to make this Blazor bit not Blazor anymore. And then therefore might change the whole thing so it's Razor pages and then just have Razor components inside the whatsamajig. It's all sorted now, so I can do the registration workflows all sorted. Got to do the login works. I can't do logout because I need an identity server, and I need to add the identity server, so that's what I'm going to do tomorrow. I also need to fix the builds. The builds don't work. But I might get that sorted on my laptop because my laptop I need to do some config on my laptop anyway because I don't have permission to talk to the NuGet package repositories, but we're sorted. So I've had like quite a good productive day today of chipping through, just getting it sorted. Hopefully do the same tomorrow as well. We've just gone out. I'm talking to you now because I want to put my pajamas on. We were going to go see some fireworks in Bath, but it's been hammering it down with rain all day and they ended up getting cancelled. But we'd already decided that we were going to go for a meal with Beth and Ben the other side of Bristol instead. So went there. That was lovely. Just come back. And now we are chilling down. It's only 8 o'clock. We're already back. Chilling down for Formula 1 at 9. Got qualifying. And then the race is tomorrow at 7, which is a much more reasonable time. I don't know why it's on so late, to be honest. I think that's a bit odd. I think they must be planning something else in the day or something. I don't know. You don't care. But yeah, otherwise, might go on my laptop for a bit. Do some build stuff. Or work, no play. And then next week we've got to do lots of emails. I need to plan in some meetings. I need to figure out the logistics of sorting in meetings. It's a bit of a pain in the ass. Because some of them are going to be in Bath. Ugh. Been quite naughty today. Staying up too late. It's technically gone midnight. Been doing more programming. Getting stuck. Kind of coming unstuck. But this is like integrating identity server with MongoDB right now. Because the NuGet package I was using before is out of date now. Which isn't good. I'm contemplating just biting the bullet and just going to SQL Server. Just because that's more natively supported. Rather than kind of like third-party gluing stuff together in, you know what I mean? Might do that tomorrow, I'm thinking. So, otherwise, we went out, got some DIY stuff, did a load of work. Laura did a load of work, watched Formula 1. Live the dream, really. Standard Sunday. It's Monday, ladies and gentlemen, and we are hitting the ground running. I'm just trying to find my running shoes. There they are, boys. Get your slippers on, lad. I spent a lot of time last week working on one singular thing, and that one singular thing isn't finished yet. This week, I can't afford to do that. So I have a big old list of shit I want to get sorted this week. So productivity is going to be the key. The advantage last week was that I had one thing that took a lot of time. So I managed to actually record a shed load of time, even though like it's more or less, I do the same amount of work no matter what, but I timed loads of hours. Even though I even took Monday off, that's how much I even managed to catch up with myself. This week I've got lots of smaller things to do, so it's going to be less true, but we're going to be working goddamn hard. Having said that, I am going to work on that programming thing right now. But I'm working on contacting people. I'm going to try and organise some meetings over the next couple of weeks. I need to do emails, I need to do all the stuff. Productivity is king. We're just going to work our absolute socks off. Also, I'm having a concerted effort to try and catch up on videos. So I'm going to start making the videos quite long to try and make it easier for myself. I'm currently uploading the 24th and 25th of September. I'm going to try and upload daily. But obviously the longer the videos, the quicker I catch up. So I'm like concerted effort on programming, other Varialis related stuff, contacting people, doing a bit of networking. videos, both in the sense of uploading and either trying to keep them short, daily and short, or just smashing a load of videos together so that we can have basically week-long vlogs, you know? So I've been struggling to update the persistence layer for my identity server. I was previously using Mongo because everything else is in Mongo. However, the thing I was using is now out of date, and it's just not going to work out for me. So I'm going to move to SQL because it's just out of the box, and it's directly developed by the people who make Identity Server rather than either developing it myself or trusting someone else. So my target now is to work on integrating Entity Framework. I'm personally not a huge fan of Entity Framework, but it is one of those things that just kind of, it does just work. And you don't really have to look at it, especially when I am not in control of the schema in a way. So I'm thinking that's what I'm going to roll with. I'm just checking to see what code changes I've got on my laptop, because I was working on my laptop yesterday. I was trying to make a Mongo repository work, and it was just going to be so much work. It's just not worth it. It's not worth the time, basically. That does mean I've got to install SQL Server on my computer, which I'm not too happy about. But also the other way to not have really long videos is to not just chat shit all the time, Jamie. So in all honesty, I'm trying to figure out, this concerted effort is going to tell me whether or not these videos still kind of work for me, because I like having something to talk to. It feels like I'm not talking to myself if I'm talking to you, even though I am basically talking to myself. But it takes time, and I don't think anyone is particularly, I don't think you guys are getting much out of it, and I don't think I'm getting much out of it anymore. So thinking about swapping it out, either stopping it or doing it differently or doing something else in its place, I'm not sure. Ringing bells. That's what's happening right now. Bells are ringing about how much of a pain in the ass SQL is. I'm gonna try and do it. I'm gonna try and set it up with Windows Auth, which complicates things because of Service Fabric and the way the apps run. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. It'll be fine, I'm sure. I've also made the jump, and I'm using Spotify, sorry, for podcasts. So that's the way I'm rolling nowadays. Like, I'm just getting annoyed at playing. There's quite, like, the Pocket Casts. I love Pocket Casts. It's great if you want to regularly listen to the same podcasts. But like, if there's like odd interview podcasts, which I like listening to while I'm working, rather than when I'm like out and about walking with my headphones on. So on Atlas, obviously it's way easier to play music from Spotify than it is to Bluetooth my phone or Chromecast my phone. And the Chromecast thing in Pocket Cast is a bit buggy. But I feel like Spotify is just a little bit better at the other stuff. So there's that. That's relevant. You don't need to know that, really, do you? My one, like, relatively big criticism, but it doesn't really affect me, is that you can't automatically download, because of the way Spotify works. It's not podcasts in the way that normal podcasts are podcasts. It's streamed. You can't, like, download. It's the way they inject ads. You can't automatically download podcasts, which would have been a killer for me if I was still driving to work and all that kind of stuff. But the truth is that I don't use any of my mobile data anyway now, because I'm always at home. I'm always in Wi-Fi. So previously I only really used internet, obviously, when I'm driving and working at work. So yeah, so I've got a shitload of data to use, so I may as well use Spotify, and then I'm still gonna like download it if I think about it, but if I don't think about it, then I'm not. So yeah, that's another life update for you. Yeah, right now I am integrating Identity Server with Entity Framework, and I am figuring out how that works, basically. Yeah, there's a lot more guidance on this than the other thing, which I was basically handwriting myself. And if there's anything you know about security-based stuff, is if you can get someone else to do it for you, do it, man, because it ain't worth the grief. I remember now why it was that I did it the way I did it in the first place, and why I held off from doing updates to this for as long as possible, because there is nothing more annoying than setting up security-based stuff, because there's a shit ton of demos. Everyone's doing 1,000,001 demos, and they're all the most basic configuration you could possibly do. And if you want to deviate from that configuration in any way, shape or form, you're just done. If I want to be able to put all of the identity stuff in a domain project so they can have two things consuming it, i.e. like identity server and a asynchronous message bus, you're just fucked. It's just like, no one's doing this. There's a huge change that you've got to do in the middle, and it's just a pain in the goddamn ass. I'm so stressed because I just can't get it to work. And I've been doing it for ages. I've spent so long on this bullshit, and it just won't fucking bite. Oh, god damn it, man. I mean, like here, add data store, SQL Server. The rest of it's all in memory though. Oh, cool. Great. Fucking brilliant. What you're saying is you're just going to do a half fucking job. Which I get, because you're doing a tutorial online, and it's supposed to be like as simple as possible. Oh, fuck me, man. Why isn't there... There used to be just like 1,000,001 data layers that you can pick, and now it's just Entity Framework. And Entity Framework is crap. Like, it's just god-awful. I hate it with a passion. I avoid it at all costs, usually. And I was hoping that this would just be add identity server dot with entity framework, and then it'd just be like bang, and you're in. See, because there, look, add entity framework stores, and then doof, doof, you're in. But no, you're not. Right, I found a different blog that looks like it goes into a bit more detail. They look like they've gone as far as putting the entity framework stuff in a separate area. That's good. That sounds good. So let's run off this. What we're going to do is we're going to go make a sandwich. Oh, that doesn't look good. I've got the code, I've got a blog. I'm going to go and make a sandwich, and instead of having fun over lunch, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to watch it. I'm going to read this blog word for bloody word. That's half the problem. Half the problem is I'm not taking the time to understand it before I do it. I'm just doing it because it shouldn't be hard to understand. And I'm making it a mess. I can feel it becoming a mess, and I can feel myself adding things that I know I'm not... Like, I have a feeling I'm just added to try and fix a problem, and now I've just got something new in there that I don't need, and then in a year's time I'll be like, why do I need this thing? And then, you know what I mean? Ugh, god damn it. Piss me off. Again, like, it's annoying because these things are so... They're one of them things where you just like, you do it until you get it to work, right? And stepping away from it is so... Staying with it is frustrating. Stepping away from it's really hard. And there's loads of other things I need to do with my life, you know? I can't spend another week on this bullshit. I changed tact because I thought it'd be quicker. Oh, fuck me. Right, go make a sandwich. Let's go chill out. Maybe I will watch an episode of Suits or something. Fuck you. I need to calm down, man. I just need to chill out and relax for a little bit. Just a little bit. So if time has ever changed, what I did yesterday was go balls deep, and I was like, you know what, there's no point me fighting to write something that I don't really understand. So I just wrote my own Mongo client, and I've done it, works. I'm now just in the point where I'm trying to configure identity server to actually work, which you would have thought would have been relatively trivial because I've had it working before. But it looks like I may have had my claims set up wrong, and now every time the clients log in, they get redirected back to the login page. I'm trying to figure out why that is. It's a pain in the ass, it's got to be said. I've got like huge logs. Like this is, wait, hang on. So like these are the logs that are generated between successfully clicking the login button and getting back to the page. And to be fair, not even that, because it's worse than that. Because it's like after I've officially signed in with the sign-in manager, it's just the identity server redirect logic. And I'm just trying to reverse and you just got to read it, you know? You just got to go down the list, read it, figure out at what point it goes wrong and try and address why. I may have to look into what is happening, if there's been any significant, because I'm bumping from version 2 to version 3 of identity server, and it should check. Like, there should be a configuration issue. There's nothing obvious though. There's no like glaring, this is a problem, you know? But I hate the security stuff is a pain in the ass. It really is. This is what I thought I would be spending a lot of my time doing, doing this identity service stuff. I thought it was all going to predominantly come down to trying to fix this, but I actually turned into a big old rewrite. And like to a certain extent, it's kind of a bit weird me. Like it's difficult to test because it's in kind of in two places. It could be wrong. Although I think this is in one place that it's wrong because it's not even. I'm not getting an authentication token back. But to a certain extent, the client needs to be updated. The APIs need to be updated so that they can talk to it. It's a big old mess. All right then, ladies and gentlemen, I have just penciled in a meeting for next week, which is going to be fun. It's not as exciting. Oh. As it gets. Sorry, I just saw something else on that calendar there, which doesn't look crazy exciting. I'm doing so. Oh, no. I'm on a waiting list for something on that day. Anyway, of course I leave my phone upstairs as well with all the details on it, then come all the way downstairs and forget about it when I'm trying to write it on the calendar. Anyway, I am about to try something a little bit different. I'm gonna go get my hair cut. I do a lot of like, piss off, leave me alone, guys. I am very much a creature of comfort, a creature of habit, so to speak. I don't 7 o'clock is. I'm a creature of habit. I go to one hairdresser's, I like it, and then I stay there, basically. And I don't like going to other ones. I've been to 2 or 3 hairdressers since I've moved to Bristol. And I went to that other one once and didn't like it because I came out with hair that was basically the same length as I walked in with it. I'm not sure how that happened, but the price of my standard hairdresser has just been going up and up and up and up and up. It's now like, I think like £13, and it's in the centre of town, which is not ideal at all. So I'm going to walk to one which is 10 minutes away, which means I can go at a more reasonable time, you know? So yeah, hopefully it's gonna be all right, but you never know. I'm not very good with hairdressers because I don't like having to talk to people. What do you think of that? Obviously it's got no gel in it. I think it's good. £15 though. Jesus. I mean, it's convenient because it's close, but £15, dog, my lord. That is more expensive than it is in town. If I'm in town already, it's cheaper. It's not if I have to travel into town and can't do it for freezies, but otherwise I've fallen off the wagon a little bit. I need to do some I need to get back into work. We're going to do some programming. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to basics a little bit, and I'm going to try and read the update logs from Identity Server 2 to 3 to make sure Identity Server 4 version 3, version 2 to version 3, to figure out if there's any significant differences that are going to stop my thing working. Like any update things that are irrelevant. It's just odd that it loops back to the login page. That's the odd bit. It's like it's not even, it goes to the connect auth URL and then just kind of drops back, which is odd. Right, current sitrep. My applications are failing, although this isn't my, so I'm able to get an access token from the security service. The security service is putting in the data that I'd expect it to put in, with the exception of one field, an important field called audience. And then the apps that then consume this are failing because they can't make sure, because basically they check whether or not that message is meant for them. They're going, is this a valid issuer? Yes. Is it a valid audience? No, because there isn't an audience. And for the life of me, I can't figure out where that audience is coming from. What I just did was I just spun up added the authentication layer to the newest microservice, the .NET Core 3 one, in an attempt to see that maybe something's changed. Because the one I was testing it against was pipeline service, which was full fat, I think, probably full fat, not .NET Core 2. So I was like, on a crazy off chance that now maybe they don't use this token anymore, and that's why my newer .NET Core 3 identity server isn't putting it on, but the old .NET Core 2 service is expecting it. But that's not the case either. So I'm properly like done. I can't figure it out. I'm trying to figure out like, I think like, yeah, it's just bad news. Bad news. I'm close. I'm very, very close. I'm so close actually for it working, but I just can't wrap my head around this audience thing. And the difference between audiences and claims and stuff. It's kind of like, it's wrapping me all in a noodle, you know? And what it is, what I think it is my previous... No, because my previous microservices all had the same, they all had the same name of the claim, which I realised was a fuck up. Is it raining? I kind of want to go for a walk. I kind of want to go for a walk to like clear my little head, clear my little noggin. Damn it, it shouldn't be raining, but it is. I can see cars with their windscreen wipers on. Damn it! Play Xbox then, fuck it. Yeah, words, what was I saying? Yeah, just can't wrap my head around this bit. It's kind of a bit like odd in a sense that it should work. There was that one thing that's different, that I know is different, between the old one and the new one. The old one didn't check to make sure that your claims all had different names on them, and mine all had the same name on them, which I feel like is the problem, because now what I want to do is I want to be able to say, hey, I want to be able to talk to you. Here are the three things. And then this thing goes, all right, you want to talk to those guys? Cool. I'll figure out which one of those guys you're allowed to talk to and then work from there. I don't want to be able to say, I don't want the claims to know about microservices in the back. I feel like I can't avoid that. I feel like I'm going to have to put that on the initial claims asked for by the user. I feel like the user, quote unquote, but I feel like the user should be able to go, hey, I want to use the RadSpider API, and then the identity server goes, okay, cool, you want to talk to the RadSpider API, that means you need to be able to talk to the RadSpider, the API gateway, security, service, you know? Anyway, I need to step away and think about something else for a bit. All right then, boys and girls, sit rep. Sit bloody rep. At long last, it works. Turns out that actually, as much as I really like Identity Server, and I think they've got some really good like docs, what they don't have is like an easy way of seeing what changes in between the versions. Because it turns out that there was a change that they made a while ago when they went to this latest version that basically made it so that they deliberately omitted the audience tag because it's a legacy tag that you shouldn't really need anymore. Okay, fair play to you. Right, that's fine. But there's no way, like that was really difficult to find. The only reason I found that out was because of the shit I was Googling, basically. And then I ended up stumbling across the GitHub suggestion for them to do it, but not the code where they actually did it. 1 second, guys, let me just do this. So long story short, I found out that they'd done it. I then needed to figure out how that, so they were saying that what you can do is you can turn it back on for legacy reasons, if you've got like legacy stuff that's checking it. Turns out the thing I've got that was checking it was their thing. But anyway, which they've kind of left one of them on for legacy reasons and left one of them off for legacy reasons. So you can toggle them both, but they're default set to opposites of each other, which I'm not 100% convinced about. But anyway, figured that out, found out where the issue was, and then rolled through it. I tried it with it on, and it wasn't giving me what I wanted anyway, so I looked at how they were figuring out what that value was, and it wasn't something that suits my model. So it's kind of odd that it only really reared its head this week. Like, it didn't rear its head there's obviously, they've changed other things to do with that as well in the latest versions. It's weird. Doesn't matter, it works now. It only works for my newest microservice, not the old one, because I haven't updated the old one yet. But it's working, happy days. I've got a huge PR to fix. And there's other things I wanted to look at as well. Laura's back. Wait. So there's things around like the way that my logging works isn't like nice. It's not like tidy, adding it to the microservice and stuff. So I want to fix that. Let me just make sure that still works. Of course it does. Happy days. and the most recent build passed. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. But yeah, so there's like a couple of things I want to tidy up around the edges, but for all intents and purposes now, we're done. I think that's the saying. Holy shit. So yeah, I've got like a little thing there to fix up Verilog, which is my login framework, but I'm not crazy in feeling like you should be able to get a haircut like this for a tenner. Am I? Now that we've finished the major upgrade parts of my security service, we're going to do the final spit and polish today, and start working on all of the other user stories I've got this week. Like I said, I've got a lot of stuff that isn't this to focus on as well, but I can't let another week fail for me, basically. I kind of fell so far behind with programming because of this, that I can't let myself fall behind again this week, but I'm trying to stay on top of all the other stuff as well. I'm working some very long days to make it happen, but we'll get there. Gucci, Gucci, Gucci. It's lunchtime. I've done the PR. There's only like some minor tidy up little bits to do of like weird things where copy and pasting went wrong. I also need to fix the logging. Logging is bad, in the sense that the logging isn't in the right, it doesn't look good anymore. The way they've changed how logging gets integrated, I need to tidy that up a little bit, and I feel like I may as well do that now before I start rolling more updates through other microservices. So that's what I'm going to do after lunch. Otherwise, it's been a productive goddamn morning. I'm hungry AF. I'm going to be glad to see the end of this. Going to be goddamn glad to see the end of this. This story is taking way too long, and I should be able to nuke 2 user stories with it. So send in dual registration emails and the security service got updated in one hit. Bang. And actually ticking off a task for the next microservice. Next user story. It's going well. It's going well. Just gotta, like I say, rocket through now. We've gotta be quick. We've gotta be on the ball. But after lunch, we are going to be focusing on figuring out a game plan for who I'm going to be emailing. Try and organise another lunch with somebody. Somebody was, don't know where that came from. And carry on working. But yeah, logging, finally merged security service, and the other stuff. Work. Busy. Let's go. Feels like quite a bizarrely admin-y day today. I've been firing off a load of emails. You know what? Emails are trash. It's such a terrible way of communicating with someone, you know? I'm trying to organise a meeting with someone and it's just like a pain in the ass, man. Like, I can't stand when, especially when companies, like I get talking to someone externally, kind of email is like the only real option, really. Unless you swap phone numbers or whatever. But things like, when companies communicate with each other via email internally, you're like, God damn it, get Slack or something, man. Jesus Christ. But anyway, yes, I've been trying to organise some meetings and stuff, and I've been doing a lot of admin around polishing off the end of my merge. It's all done. Fixed up a load of stuff in like the planning sections of all of my stuff. I've started planning what I'm going to do to push Catalyst, and I'm about to go out for my walk, my afternoon walk. 9 degrees. And then I'm going to come back and get down to some programming. I'm not completely out of the clear for fixing, like 100% fixing my security stuff. I have more security woes to go. I've done the easy one, which is make sure that an API is protected behind Identity Server. Now I've got to do the same thing for the API gateway, which obviously allows you to talk to other services. So we're going to see how that one works. That's going to be fun. And that is, we're not even talking about the client yet, which is the actual web. But we'll cross that bridge when we need to. What else am I doing? So I've got like lots of programming stuff that I need to do, and I've now figured out, like I say, how I'm going to go about sorting out this Catalyst thing. I feel like I need a new idea though. I feel like I need a new way of doing this. I'm not really sure how. So that's where my mind's at. I'm trying to figure out if there is a way that I can approach people that's a bit different, you know? Just a little bit different. Also, while I'm going for my walk, I'm rendering out my video, which needs to be uploaded. Like I say, I'm trying to catch up on vlogs, which is why I'm going to start making longer vlogs and talk less in them. It's got to be at least 3 days. I get annoyed at myself when I find that a video is only 20 minutes long and I've ended it on the 2nd day, and I'm like, what are you doing, Jamie? We need to catch up with these things. You let yourself get behind, boy. And that's it for today, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna end it there. After dinner, I raced through updating my communication service to .NET Core 3. That was the other thing that I was gonna do. Basically, just because party communication and security are all semi-tightly linked. They don't communicate with any of the other services, basically, and they're isolated enough just to do for funsies. So I added it to this week's sprint. Now I have 2 things left for this sprint, and that is to finish off the setting configuration for the new microservice and bubble that out through the API gateway, and then also update the API gateway. So they're the 2 things I need to do. I'm gonna try and get the API gateway updated tomorrow, and then get a significant chunk of the other one done as well. So yeah, it's good fun. Otherwise, planning. We're doing lots of planning. And yeah, when I went on my walk, I managed to pop into that. I don't know if I've mentioned, I've been trying to check out the local library to see if that's a good place to like work in the week. That's not town or a cafe, and it's not. So there's like no desks or anything, and it's tiny. So sad times. Cafes or pubs it is, even though I never do that. So I don't know why I pretend that I would. But yeah, bedtime. Anything else to say? I don't think so. I'm going to end the video here, ladies and gentlemen, 3 days. And then next vlog will be a 4-dayer. So we've got Thursday, Friday, going to finish off a shitload of work. And then we've got Laura's mum and dad in Bristol. So I'm not going to vlog much then. And Laura's off on Monday, so we may even make it a 5-dayer. Crazy. Thanks for watching, ladies and gentlemen, and I will catch you later.